Welcome to Art Bytes, short encounters with the collection of the Marianna Kistler Beach Museum of Art. I'm your host today, Catherine Slogic, and I'm the Associate Curator of Education at the museum. Today, I'd like to share with you a print by a Mexican in honor of Cinco de Mayo. The artist's name is Leopoldo Méndez. The title of the work is Grinding Maize, and it is from a print portfolio called The Mexican People, which was published in 1946. Leopoldo Méndez was born in Mexico City in 1902. His father was a shoemaker and his mother was a farm worker. She was indigenous of the Naha heritage. And his parents died before he was 2 years old, so he was raised by his aunt. He became interested in drawing in primary school. He was very influenced by his father's family, who'd been activists. His paternal grandfather died in a battle during the French intervention in Mexico, and his father had resisted the Porfirio Diaz regime, and that resulted in the burning of his father's store. Méndez became politically active as well, supporting the goals of the Mexican Revolution, but he worked behind the scenes. And this was because he had a concept that making art for profit was not the right way to go, and that the true value of art was its social utility. So his whole life had been influenced by this early violence and moral promises of a country's revolution. And he really wanted to express his beliefs through his art. After attending art schools, he taught art, illustrated magazines for the Stridentist movement, which is a Mexican art movement which was similar to Dadaism and Futurism, and even served in the Ministry of Education. In 1930, he founded a group of artists called the Lucca Intellectual Proletariat and traveled to the United States to give lectures and presentations on their work. In 1937, he disbanded the Lucca Intellectual Proletariat and founded Taller de Gráfico Popular, the People's Graphic Workshop, which was informally known as the TGP. This group was active until the 1960s and produced 35 major portfolios of woodcuts, linocuts, and lithographs. The TGP was grounded in the belief of art's capacity for social protest and the betterment of the nation's people. At the time of his death in Mexico City in 1969, Méndez had been awarded numerous prizes, including the International Peace Prize. And Méndez is the figure in the white shirt at the very center of this photograph. Méndez was inspired stylistically by the work of 19th century Mexican printmaker Jose Guadalupe Posada. And Posada, like Méndez, was very political in his work. Posada's work had been sort of rediscovered by Diego Rivera in the 1920s. And this print here was made by Méndez in 1956 in honor of Posada, showing Posada in his workshop, and then revolution going on outside the workshop. These two pieces are typical of Méndez's work, the more political work. You can see that the lower right-hand piece is designed as perhaps a brochure or flyer, talking about various issues. The piece on the left is called Danger Over Mexico and is perhaps one of Méndez's most famous pieces. And as the recorder and commentator of the events, the artist shows himself in the foreground. The eagle crucified symbolizes Mexico's sacrifice to the forces of reaction, and they emerge from the serpent of evil and march in procession towards Mexico City in the background. In the 1940s, Méndez and the TGP began to receive attention in the US, including a 1945 exhibition of 25 of Méndez's prints at the Chicago Art Institute. Reeves Leuenthal, the director of Associated American Artists, which was founded in 1939, recognized the growing interest in Mexico and scenes of campesinos, or sort of these rural scenes. The 12 prints compiled by Méndez in the 1946 portfolio raised money to support the TGP goals of uniting Mexico's fragmented heritage, combating poverty, of the lower class workers and indigenous people, and put the rural worker front and center as a hero. Along with the map, which shows where each of the scenes were located, each print had a description in Spanish and English. And this is the description that went along with grinding maize. In it, Méndez references the book of Chilam Balam of Chumayel. Now, there were several of these books written in the 17th and 18th century. They were written in Mayan using the Latin alphabet, and they were kind of like almanacs. They had knowledge of history, prophecy, religion, rituals, literature, calendar, astronomy, and medicine. One of the things referred to was the importance of maize to the Spanish, Hispanic people, the Mexican people. Chilam Balam, the name means priest, and then Balam means jaguar. So it'd be jaguar priest who did these writings. But Méndez also talks a little bit about how the traditional attitude is causing people not to be as profitable. And he sort of promotes the idea of agricultural experimentation to help people with the better crops. So let's take a final look at this print. And we can see a number of different aspects of the traditional agricultural maize growing. First of all are the cascamates, and these were the granaries. And you can see a photograph of one, and then several in Méndez's print. They were made out of adobe clay and then had thatched roofs. And this is where they would store the maize. The woman is using a metate, a traditional stone grinding setup to grind the maize. In the background, we see one man carrying a sheaf of wheat. And then finally, on the right-hand side, we see a farmer working with a traditional hand plow that would be used to grow the crops. So it's kind of a wonderful way of capturing quite accurately the traditional agriculture of Mexico. So happy Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, and I hope that everyone enjoyed learning a little bit more about Mexican culture. And if you want to see all of these prints, they are available on our website. You can go to our collections search engine and put in the search words, the Mexican people. Thank you.